Today is March the 5th. Can the blind lead the blind? Let's see what Jesus says. We're going to read from Luke chapter 6, 37 to 42. Now this contains the parallel section in Matthew 7, 1 to 5, but it adds several ideas that I think really explain what he's saying. Luke 6, 37 to 42. Don't judge, and you'll not be judged. Do not condemn, and you'll not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it'll be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. He also told them a parable. Can a blind person guide a blind person? Will not both fall into a pit? A disciple is not above the teacher, but every disciple who is fully qualified will be like his teacher. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? How can you say to your neighbor, friend, let me take out the speck in your eye, when you yourself don't see the log in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the log out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. Now in the book of Matthew, it talks about the first, don't judge and you won't be judged. And it talks about the last, the speck in your neighbor's eye. But Luke adds several other concepts. He says, don't judge, don't condemn. He says, pardon or forgive. And he finally says, give. And in each case, if you don't judge, you won't be judged. If you don't condemn, you won't be condemned. If you will pardon, you will also be pardoned. And if you give, it will be given to you. This is the golden rule in action. Whatever you do to others will be done to you. Now he talks about the blind leading the blind. He talks about someone with a speck in their eye and their neighbor with a log in his eye who tries to remove that speck. Basically, he's saying you will be treated in the way that you treat others. Now, in the Old Testament, it's very interesting that when we read about Samson in Judges 15, that very phrase is used several times. As they did to me, I will now do to them. Let's read Judges 15. Stick around afterwards. I have some comments I want to make.
Judges 15, New Revised Standard Version. After a while, at the time of the wheat harvest, Samson went to visit his wife, bringing along a kid. He said, I want to go into my wife's room, but her father would not allow him to go in. Her father said, I was sure that you had rejected her, so I gave her to your companion. Is not her younger sister prettier than she? Why not take her instead? Samson said to them, This time when I do mischief to the Philistines, I will be without blame. So Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took some torches, and he turned the foxes tail to tail, and put a torch between each pair of tails. When he had set fire to the torches, he let the foxes go into the standing grain of the Philistines, and burned up the stalks and standing grain, as well as the vineyards and olive groves. Then the Philistines asked, Who has done this? And they said, Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he has taken Samson's wife and given her to his companion. So the Philistines came up and burned her and her father. Samson said to them, If this is what you do, I swear I will not stop until I have taken revenge on you. He struck them down hip and thigh with a massive defeat, and he went down and stayed in the cleft of the rock of Edom. Then the Philistines came up and encamped in Judah and made a raid on Lehi. The men of Judah said, Why have you come up against us? They said, We have come up to bind Samson, to do to him as he did to us. Then 3,000 men of Judah went down to the cleft of the rock at Edom, and they said to Samson, Do you not know that the Philistines are rulers over us? What then have you done to us? He replied, As they did to me, so I have done to them. They said to him, "We have come down to bind you, so we may give you into the hands of the Philistines." Samson answered them, "Swear to me that you yourselves will not attack me." They said to him, "No, we will only bind you and give you into their hands. We will not kill you." So they bound him with 2 new ropes and brought him up from the rock. When he came to Lehi, the Philistines came shouting to meet him, and the Spirit of the Lord rushed on him, and the ropes that were on his arms became like flax that is cut on fire, and the bounds melted off his hands. Then he found a fresh jawbone of a donkey, reached down and took it, and with it killed 1,000 men. And Samson said, "With the jawbone of a donkey, heaps upon heaps. With the jawbone of a donkey, I have slain 1,000 men." When he had finished speaking, he threw away the jawbone, and that place was called Ramath Lehi. By then he was very thirsty, and he called on the Lord, saying, "You have granted this great victory by the hand of your servant. Am I now to die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised?" So God split open a hollow place that is at Lehi, and water came from it. When he drank, his spirit returned, and he revived. Therefore it was named En-hakkore, which is at Lehi to this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 24 years.
So Judges 15 starts with Samson burning the fields of the Philistines. So the Philistines go and they burn the house and the person that Samson loved. Samson, in retaliation, finds them and beats them. And so they seek to beat Samson. As they do, they say, "What he did to us, we will do to him." Samson is hiding in Israelite territory. The men of the local village come to Samson and they say they're looking for you. Samson says, "What they did to me, I did to them." Samson is given over to them, and that's when he finds a donkey jawbone, and he uses that as a club and killed 1,000 of the Philistines. That story ends with death. It's a sad commentary on what happens if I decide I will do to you what you have done to me. Typically, it ends in destruction. So what do we do today as a result of that? Well, today, we need to be aware of how we treat others and make sure that we treat them with justice and mercy. Scripture reading from the New Revised Standard Version by Emily Herrera. If you like what you heard today, share it with your friends.